Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm gonna show you knife engraving on a blue dyed laser. I've experimented with metal engraving sometimes in the past. For today, I wanted to make a video specific on knife engraving, some tricks in terms of positioning the knife, positioning on the engraving, and some stuff for coated knives and some tips and tricks in general. Without further ado, let's get right in. So here we are at the engraver. Let's have a look at all the stuff you're gonna need to do knife engraving here. First of all, you will need on a blue dyed laser at least 10 watts of laser power. I've tried it often enough with my older 5-watt system. It just doesn't work. You will need at least 10 watts. Make sure that it's properly serviced, the lens is clean, and if you have an air assist mounted, make sure you remove it because it will get in the way on a lot of knives. You don't need an air assist unless you were to engrave like a razor blade where it's super thin and you need the cooling. On everything else it's not a problem. Then you need to figure out a way to position your knife correctly. Obviously, if you are making the knives yourself and you have just a flat piece of steel, it's super easy. But with engraving other knives like this, and how you're going to hold it. And for this, I found the easiest method to be pick up some silly putty, the cheapest one you can find, and then you just use that to position your knife. I've tried other things with the sponges in other videos, and there are like universal holders or maybe like a ball vise or something. But it just it's not necessary. Grab one of this, it's the easiest thing you can get. Then also a ruler, because we need to measure out the size of the actual engraving. And after that, it's onto looking at the design itself. For positions, where I want to engrave it, on this video I'm gonna do this opinel here. And I'm gonna put the engraving just on the right of their logo. There's a good spot. I've done a lot of opinels and this seems to be a very nice spot for it. With other knives, with folding knives for example, an option is, first of all, you're going to notice that as soon as you do this engraving, you're going to notice that a lot of the manufacturers like to put their logos where, the best spots are, which means you won't have a spot left, which is a bit annoying. For this knife, for example, I would do it probably under this logo here. If they haven't put a logo here, it's also a cool thing. If whatever you are trying to engrave is very small, put it somewhere where it's visible when the knife is folded together. Also looks very neat. And a third thing you are going to notice on black coated knives, the contrast isn't very good. You can see in the sunlight, you can see it, but if it's not, perfectly in the light, it's very difficult. It's just because a blue dyed laser produces a very dark engraving on steel, and if you have a black coating on a dark engraving, obviously you can't see it properly. It's just a thing you have to deal with. On some coatings, I had it happen that just the coating burned away and the white steel was left. But it's super inconsistent. It was just on one knife, and unless you tested the particular blade you want to engrave, there's no way to tell it beforehand if it's going to turn out white or black. Just assume that it's black and that the contrast won't be very good. But now that we have all of the tools and we know where to engrave it, I'm going to measure out the size on this opinel here. How big we want it. I would like it to be about the same height as this. That's something that you should think about. If there already is like an embossing or an engraving here, you want yours probably to be about the same size, because otherwise it looks kind of weird. If it's just a bit smaller or just a bit bigger, it looks out of place. So I'm going to measure the height, and then the width is going to it's going to be what it is, and that is probably going to fit. So for this blade it will be about 8 millimeters, maybe it's 7 millimeters, and the width is going to be whatever it is. I'm gonna put in my normal triangular logo, and then we'll see how it turns out. So now let's position our knife. For positioning, it is helpful if you got a grid as a base surface, but it is technically not necessary. You can use your laser to measure stuff out. Let's put in our silly putty, press it down. So first of all, we're gonna lever it out in this direction. You can see that's good enough. Then we are going to lever it out in this direction. See, we need to press it down a lot more, and it is pretty lever. That's how easy it is, and that's why I say, even though it looks a bit stupid using silly putty for this, it is by far the easiest method. Then we are going to adjust the knife so that our engraving is straight. You can do this by looking at it at the top. I'm going to orient myself on this line because this is a straight line. It's often very hard to find this on some weirder shaped knives, but for this, thinking that's gonna be good. And then I'm gonna set the focus. So now the focus is set, and now I can get my crosshair on the top surface, and then I'm gonna move it to the left and double check if it is oriented correctly, and it is maybe a slightly more down on this part. Yeah, now it is set perfectly. And then we can start off with the engraving. I'm obviously running at 10 watts of laser power maximum and on 2 millimeters per second of speed. Pretty slow, but that's what's necessary. And 100 lines per centimeter of infill. I'm gonna start off with my rectangle. I'm gonna go top left for the reference point and then, fire the laser. And here is the result. I had to make it a bit smaller because it didn't quite fit, into the space here. But I think it still looks nice. You can see the resolution is quite good. I mean, obviously it depends on the, your original resolution, but just looking at it, being able to mark your knives easily like this, if you get used to it, it takes a minute to position the knife and then about 2 or 3 minutes to do the engraving at this size. It's super nice and convenient, and these machines are very inexpensive, so it's just a great thing to do. That was already it for this video. I hope you liked it and you learned something. If you did, then consider subscribing and giving the video a like, and then I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.